parents refused to care for my twins during my surgery, called me a burden, and went to a concert. I never thought the most painful betrayal of my life would come from the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, my parents. It happened on Christmas Eve, in a Las Vegas hospital room, where I lay in a hospital bed, clutching my phone with trembling hands. My 2-year-old twins, Ethan and Emily, played quietly in the corner while a nurse, Valerie, checked my vitals. The pain in my abdomen was excruciating, like someone was twisting a knife inside me, but the emotional pain cut deeper. Don't you dare ask us to cancel our plans again. We've had these Elton John tickets for months. My mother's voice echoed through the phone. I was stunned. Mom, I'm about to have emergency surgery. I have no one else to watch the twins. Her expression remained cold throughout the video call. We're retired now, Natasha. We deserve to enjoy our lives without your constant problems. My father's words hit harder than any scalpel ever could. I had been financially supporting them since their early retirement 3 years ago, sending them $2,500 a month to help with their mortgage and expenses. Even after my husband, James, died in a car accident 6 months ago, I never stopped helping them. How foolish I had been. Tears welled in my eyes. But before they could fall, Valerie squeezed my shoulder gently. My friend Olivia is a professional nanny. She specializes in childhood trauma. Let me call her for you. Her kindness was a stark contrast to my parents' callousness. I looked over at Ethan and Emily, still too young to understand what was happening. They had already lost their father. Now, if the surgery went wrong, they might lose me too. The thought terrified me, but not as much as leaving them with people who saw them as burdens. Yes, please call her. And with those words, I began cutting the poisonous ties to the people who had raised me but never truly loved me. A lifetime of being an afterthought. As I hung up, memories flooded back, moments from my childhood where I had been overlooked. When I graduated college with honors, my parents barely acknowledged it because my younger sister, Jessica, had landed a commercial gig. When I married James, they complained about the wedding venue being too far from their home. When the twins were born, they visited once, saying, "Newborns are just too fussy." James had always said, "We'll build our own family, one that knows how to love." And we did. Until a drunk driver stole him away. I had been drowning in grief and depression, yet I still sent my parents money. But now? Now, I saw the truth clearly. Lying in that hospital bed, I made a decision that should have been made years ago. I would no longer sacrifice myself for people who wouldn't lift a finger for me. The turning point. When Olivia arrived, she was everything Valerie had promised: kind, professional, and instantly connecting with the twins. As the hospital staff prepared me for surgery, I turned to Valerie. "Can you bring me my phone one more time?" With shaking hands, I sent 2 messages. To my bank, cancel all future automatic transfers to my parents' account. To my parents, I will no longer be providing financial support. My children and I deserve better than being your afterthoughts. Do not contact me again. As they wheeled me toward the operating room, I felt something unexpected through the pain and fear. Freedom. The aftermath. The surgery was successful, but the recovery was brutal. I spent 5 days in the hospital, drifting in and out of consciousness. Olivia went above and beyond, staying with the twins in my hospital room during the day and taking them home at night. When I finally checked my phone, I saw 27 missed calls and dozens of text messages. From my parents? Not a single message asking if I survived the surgery. Instead, their texts followed a predictable pattern. Confusion. Are you serious about cutting us off? Anger. You are so ungrateful. We gave you life. Desperation. We had to dip into our cruise savings to cover the mortgage. Jessica's messages were different. Mom and Dad just told me you had some minor procedure. What's going on? Why are they freaking out about money? It hit me. They had lied to Jessica about everything. Still groggy from medication, I sent her the full story. Her response came immediately. "Oh my God, Natasha. I had no idea. They told me you were just being dramatic about a routine checkup. I would have watched the twins if I had known. I'm so sorry. Maybe, just maybe, Jessica wasn't like them. Maybe she had just been raised by them." Taking my life back. By the time I was discharged, I had made several decisions. I hired Olivia part-time to help with the twins during my recovery. I contacted a lawyer to draft a will, ensuring my parents would never gain custody of my children. I blocked my parents' numbers. The $2,500 a month I had been sending them? It was nearly a third of my income as a graphic designer. Without that burden, I could finally afford proper childcare and even start rebuilding my emergency fund. That night, as I lay in my own bed, listening to the twins sleep peacefully, I felt something new. A sense of self-respect taking root. The next morning, Jessica texted me. I just had a huge fight with Mom and Dad about how they treated you. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. Can we talk tomorrow? Maybe, just maybe, I wasn't completely alone after all. And for the first time in years, I allowed myself to hope. Rebuilding my life without them. Jessica showed up at my house the next morning, coffee in hand and regret written all over her face. She looked exhausted as if she had spent the entire night wrestling with the truth. I'm so sorry, Natasha. I feel like an idiot for not seeing this sooner. They always made you sound so needy whenever they talked about you. But now I see they were the ones using you. I sighed, stirring my tea absent-mindedly. Jess, it's not your fault. They controlled the narrative, and you were only hearing their version. She winced. I just can't believe they went to a freaking concert instead of helping you. And after everything you've done for them? The money? The support? How could they just abandon you like that? I let out a humorless chuckle. Because they never saw me as family, Jess. Just a source of income. Her eyes darkened, and for the first time, I saw something in my younger sister that I hadn't noticed before. Guilt. She bit her lip, staring into her coffee. I need to be honest with you. They asked me for money yesterday. After you cut them off. My stomach tightened. And she shook her head firmly. I told them no. For the first time in forever, I felt a flicker of relief. Good. Because they don't deserve your help, either. The parents' meltdown. Cutting off my parents should have been the end of the story, but people like them don't go down quietly. 3 days later, they found a new way to retaliate. My boss called me into his office, looking concerned. Natasha, I just received a disturbing email about you. Something about financial misconduct and being mentally unstable. My heart plummeted. Let me guess. It was from David and Linda Reynolds, claiming to be my parents. He nodded, frowning. I didn't believe it, of course, but I thought you should know they're trying to sabotage you. I let out a shaky breath. I cut them off financially. This is their way of retaliating. Figures. Sounds like a classic narcissistic meltdown. Thankfully, my boss knew me well enough to dismiss their accusations, but the fact that they had stooped so low only solidified my decision. These were not just bad parents. They were toxic, manipulative leeches who would rather destroy me than accept consequences for their actions. I blocked their email addresses that night. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I consulted a lawyer about filing a restraining order. Freedom at last. By the end of the month, my parents had lost their house. Turns out, when you spend years relying on someone else's money, reality hits hard when the cash stops flowing. Jessica confirmed they were living in a cheap motel, still blaming me for their downfall. They said you're a selfish, ungrateful brat who abandoned them in their time of need. I smirked. Oh, you mean the way they abandoned me when I was having life-saving surgery? Jessica sighed, rubbing her temples. Yeah, I reminded them of that. They told me to grow up and take their side. So I told them to lose my number. I felt an overwhelming wave of relief. For the first time in my entire life, I was truly free. No more guilt trips. No more financial leeching. Just me, my twins, and the family I chose. And that's all I ever needed. Thank you for watching.